everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here. Don't miss my BitChute exclusive today on the election. YouTube, as you know, is censoring people for talking about the election. I need to be able to talk freely about the election. So tune in to my BitChute exclusive. Yesterday's BitChute exclusive did not upload as planned. It did finally upload. I got home a few hours ago and I re-uploaded it again. So you can now see yesterday's hot take. And I'm going to do a second one. The link to my BitChute is down below in the comments section. So definitely subscribe to BitChute because YouTube is going to get more censorious. That's probably a given. But let's talk about another big topic. The idiots in the Chaz 2. I call it the Chaz 2. I don't know what they're calling it. They're calling it the RAZ because it's the red house on Mississippi Avenue. And you can kind of see it in this picture. There's actually a big, looks like a apartment block right next to it. And it's all boarded up. More stuff came out about the house today. It's owned by a black family, and they were losing the house. They had taken out some kind of mortgage on the house to pay their bills or something, and the money ran out, and now the cops were coming to evict them. This is not a good time to be evicting people. This was probably an incredibly stupid move on the part of the city and the cops, but, you know, and of all places, Portland. But Antifa should be arrested. These guys drove away the cops. They threw rocks and bottles and other projectiles at them and literally drove them away from the scene. They declared another autonomous zone, and it's now about 3 square blocks. This is going to end in somebody getting killed. This is probably going to be worse than the Chaz, the first Chaz in Seattle, because the one in Seattle was in a more urban section of the city. This one appears to be in a slightly more suburban area. You could see trees and stuff. That's going to make it harder because people live there, and I mean people lived in the Chaz too, but it's going to be harder to like surround the place, and Antifa is already expanding it. Ted Wheeler, the mayor of Portland, is an idiot. He is also the police commissioner for some reason, and the only thing I can think of is, you know, I mean, I guess we should be thankful that Little Miss Antifa did get elected, who ran against Ted Wheeler. But somebody even to the left of her ran against both of them and split the communist vote. So Ted Wheeler got back in. It's just idiotic. So you've got Police Bureau Chief Chuck Lavelle said his department is aware of a stockpile of weapons and the presence of firearms in a growing autonomous zone. Yeah, there are guys walking around with guns again. Just like in the Chaz, you need to arrest these morons. And you're probably going to end up in a shootout with them if you don't. Or you're going to end up like the Chaz. It's going to drag on. A few people will get killed, and then finally you'll have to come in there with like an army of cops and push everybody out, block by block, house by house. You know, you can't run a city like this. You can't. And to the idiots in Antifa, you're just going to end up getting somebody killed, and these people would be forced to leave their home. They were going to be forced to leave their home either way. They lost their home, and it sucks. I don't think people should lose their homes, but I also think that we've got bigger problems than one particular house. And you can fight the cops on every house that gets evicted, but it always ends the same way. Someone's going to get killed or hurt or arrested, and eventually the people end up leaving anyway. So what did you really do? What are you really achieving here? Oh, you're making a statement? Well, that's good. People still die, and people still get kicked out of their home. Occupy Wall Street, those guys would raise money and buy people their house back. That's something you could do. That would be constructive. Staging a peaceful protest rather than, surrounding the house and linking arms and making sure the cops can't get in to evict them is one way. Committing violence against the cops, that's just going to they're going to come back with more weapons, you dummies. They're going to come back with tear gas and probably a tank, and they're going to crush you guys. And now that it looks like Trump is running out of options, I'm telling you, Biden is not going to play. Biden, unlike Trump, has the cover of media. Yeah, they're covering this in Breitbart, and they'll still cover it in Breitbart. They're not going to cover it on CNN. If Ted Wheeler, a couple of months from now, sends in the cops, Biden says, make this stop. I want it to go away. I don't want to hear about Antifa ever again. He will turn on the cops. He will turn on the cop spigot. And he will say, guys, here's your payback. Go in there. What do you want? Weapons? Use whatever weapons you want. We'll have a media blackout. You guys do whatever you have to get those people out of there. And don't worry, the local media is covering for us. And the local media will. Those same media guys who, were part of the resistance, well, they're not. They've always been part of the establishment. So they'll be happy to write a glowing article how it's tragic some people died somehow in the raid, but, it was Antifa, and we think, maybe, although there might be some really bad people in there, maybe some racist. Oh, yeah, we got to get them out of there. I mean, they could hurt people. And that some of them died, well, they resisted arrest. And we all know cops are pretty good people now that we're in control of the cops. So, therefore, we don't really want to investigate any further. Nothing to see here. Move along. That's what's going to happen to you. And they will arrest you. The tide is going to turn, and you will go to jail. These guys, unfortunately, have been radicalized. So they're not going to get the message until you go back again and again. This is just going to keep happening for a while. I don't think Ted is going to allow it to be normal. And the more it appears, the more Biden will and his people will say, no, we're trying to make it look like we have unity. This isn't unity. Go in and arrest those people. They're breaking the law. I'm the law and order president. That's what Biden will be saying in a couple of months. So, the presence of firearms, if somebody gets shot, well, somebody had a gun. What do you expect the cops to do? Suddenly, all the narrative will change, and it'll all break the way of Ted Wheeler. Why? Oh, he's a Democrat. And that's what the media is for. It's not for telling the truth. It's for protecting Democrats. And they have lots of Democrats to protect because these guys have a lot to answer for. And their cities and their states are all effed up. So get ready for the big, I guess you'd call it whitewash. So you can see here, looks like about a 3-block radius they've taken over now. And when I say take over, I mean, they build barricades and they patrol the area, but these guys don't know what they're doing. They throw up a couple of pallets that they found in an alley and call it a day. There we go. Nobody's coming through here. Some of them have guns, but do any of them have training? Probably not. Maybe one of them does. Maybe one of them's a vet and he's really trained, but the rest of them are just idiots running around with guns. These people are LARPing. They don't know what to do. What are they going to do? Someone suggested that they should just fence off the area and allow them to declare their own country and, treat it like a real country. Don't let anybody out. Strip them of their citizenship and see how they do. See how they do with importing food or, begging for financial aid and all that. I think that's an extreme, and I don't think that's a serious suggestion. I think what they should do is go in and arrest Antifa. Now, do I think they should evict the people from their house? I feel bad for the people in their house. No, I think that's too much of a hot button issue. What I would do is I would work with the bank and say, hey, listen, we don't want to cause a riot here. Why don't you give these people like a 1-year reprieve to get their life together or something, and let them live in the house like another year, and maybe you could get the bank to agree to that, or give them like another year and a half in the house, and that kind of diffuses everything, and Antifa can kind of go their merry way and call it a victory. Assuming that they'd be willing to peacefully go away. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen either, because I think, the bank will just say, no, why should we do that? That's not the law. We own that house. We pay our taxes. Get in there and get our house. That's what they'll probably say. So this police chief, he's like tweeting, we want a peaceful and safe resolution to the occupation of the public space on North Mississippi Ave. We're greatly concerned about the fortification of barricades, stockpiling of weapons, armed sentries, attack on journalists, and threats to kill officers and graffiti in this public space. I don't think it's a public space. It's a house. And for you to tweet that just basically says, I'm helpless. I really hope you just surrender. This kind of stuff wouldn't be tolerated in New Jersey, as far as I know. I think the cops would just kick in the door and arrest everybody. But this is bad. This is, it's not good they have that many weapons, supposedly. Ted Wheeler, I am authorizing the Portland Police to use all lawful means to end the illegal occupation on North Mississippi Ave and hold these violating our community laws accountable. There will be no autonomous zone in Portland. Well, okay, good. I guess that's good. I think you are allowing an autonomous zone in Portland. But, what are you really doing about it, Ted? There's people in there right now in that 3-block radius that I'm sure are like horrified that they don't have control of their own street anymore. If I lived near that house and I owned one of the house next to it and I paid my taxes, I'd certainly be pissed that a bunch of political extremists roam the streets throwing rocks at the cops. Arrest them. Put them in jail. Because if you throw if you throw a rock at a cop car, I think you should do a little time. At minimum, you should get community service, and if you hurt anybody, you should get a lot more. It's highly illegal. If I threw a rock at a cop car, oh man, I'd go right to jail here in New Jersey. Right to jail, no question. I'd probably get a massive fine. I'd be lucky if I wasn't charged with a felony. In Portland, however, you can throw rocks at the cops all day, and they're just kind of used to it. This is not something you want your population to get used to, Ted. You've allowed it to go on too long. You began as a guy who was sympathetic to this nonsense. You're going to end it as a tyrant, because you'll have no choice. It'll be the only way you can maintain order, because these people are going to keep pushing you. They're going to push and push and push. Yeah, they got an autonomous zone here. They're going to probably try to set up another one this time. Try to set up 2 at the same time. So you got 2 to try to break up. Fortunately for you, these guys aren't getting a giant influx of weapons and money and arms and supplies or whatever. But who knows? Who knows? At this point, these useful idiots have ceased to be useful. So I don't think anybody's going to feed these guys anymore. Antifa, you should stop. I'm warning you right now. The reckoning is a-coming. Joe Biden will not be merciful. He will not.